And we are live. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 8, Hermanos of Breaking Bad. And this lays the groundwork of what is yet to come later in the episodes of Season 4.
Oh yeah, it sure does. This episode. I think this was a very important episode
It is.
because we see some things starting to come together in this episode. We
Yeah, we
see a
do.
little hint. We see a little hint of Gus's past in this episode as well.
We do. We do. We see a lot of little bit of Gus. And this, what I like to see for this episode to be the groundwork of Better Call Saul. I'd
Yeah.
all hold this story in Better Call Saul, and they've got some time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They
so
do.
but in the teaser we see blood in some water, and who the hell is that? Whose blood is that?
Of course, we find out later in the episode.
Yeah, we do. We find out later. Let me bring up my notes here. I took some notes. Just like Ellen.
Yeah. But it starts out what we see Walter and Gus talking in the hospital. It's a flashback to
Yep.
season 3
Yeah, so we see a
when
flashback. Go
when the
ahead.
when the one surviving cousin, the ones who tried to kill Hank, is in the hospital. It flashes back to that episode. It flashes back to that was the one that got
Yeah.
his legs chopped off.
Yeah, so it flashes back to the episode of I See You,
Yes.
and we see what happens to one of the cousins, the legless cousin. We see how he died, and apparently Mike injected him with something.
Yes, it had to be Mike. I mean, Mike's the freaking man.
It was Mike because they showed it. He put his
Yeah,
hand in the thing, so it was definitely Mike that did this.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I know. And
So
we saw Gomi say, "Burn in hell, you piece of shit."
and then we cut to uh, so we cut to Gus. Apparently it's present day, or appears to be present day, and he goes by and sees Hector face to
Tio.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he goes to see Tio. Yeah.
And so basically he's saying that um he was saying that he killed the cousins, that the cousins are dead, and that he was the one that informed Hank that they was coming after him.
Mm-hmm.
There's Ellen. Oh,
Although he Gus actually claimed that he was looking into who actually made the call.
oh, it was Gus. It was either Gus or someone. Gus's.
I believe it was Gus.
Yeah, I think so too. Because Gus was the only one that knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Gus myself.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Gus. But I mean, this episode, wow, we're gonna have so much to get into with this episode. This was just absolutely. This was a almost perfect episode.
Yeah, it was a really good episode.
Yeah, like I said, it really, like you mentioned, it really laid the groundwork for future events.
Yeah, it did. And so apparently Gus is out for the blood of the cartel. And we find
Mhm.
out at the end of the episode why he's out for the cartel.
Yes, we do.
But we back in the but going after the teaser, we see Walt, and he's basically doing some tests, and his cancer is still in remission.
Has a conversation with a fellow cancer patient,
Mm-hmm.
and the cancer patient is basically talking about talking about how to deal with the cancer, and basically Walt says that's such bullshit. You know?
Yeah, and we see basically the change of Walt in this episode because he's like, you know what? I'm the one in charge, not the cancer.
Right? Yeah.
Basically, that's what he said.
Yeah, that is what he said, and I thought that was an interesting dynamic to him.
Yeah,
That
because when he first found out that he had cancer, basically he was just like that guy that he was talking to,
hmm
and
Yeah, he
then
was.
until he got into the meth business, he basically is now in charge.
Yeah, he is. He is in charge. He knows he's in charge now.
Mhm.
He basically he's one of those cancer patients who decides to take charge of his own treatment, take charge of everything
Yeah,
in his life. He's not going to let in other words, he's not going to let it overrule his life. He's not going to let it. He's not going to be. He's not going to be ruled by fear.
he's not going to feel sorry for himself because he has
Right.
cancer.
Yeah, that too. And I mean, he was really, you know, he was showing some strength and some depth,
Hmm.
which we wouldn't have seen in the first season with him.
Yeah,
We would not have seen this strength and this depth in him in the first season. But
no,
man, when
but he
yeah,
has overcome so much in these couple of years. But but later in the Super Lab, you see the security camera feed and Gus, and Gus is basically in charge of Walt. Walt's not in charge of anything right now.
right, that's true. You're correct about that. But Walt's working his way up, obviously.
He's working his way up, and he definitely needs to kill Gus at this point
Mm-hmm.
because hold up. Oh, Ellen can't come on.
What's going on?
Ellen said she thought we was doing it a few weeks from now, and she
Oh,
can't do it.
well,
That
that's
sucks. Oh well, Ellen can talk next week if she comes on.
yeah,
All right, so basically back into the police headquarters. They summon Gus to basically, question him, and he gives a interesting backstory of him and how he knows Gail.
yes, he does, and he's essentially he's kind of he's putting this story together. He's putting these elements together
Hmm.
to give himself a plausible alibi,
Yeah,
which most of them that are in that room seem to accept it. I mean, Tim and Hank's boss and Gomi.
yeah. And when Gus came in there, he basically was all buddy buddy with the cops. He asked, basically one cop that how's his wife is doing, and it
Hank's boss
shows.
asked that. It was Hank's boss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he asks him how's his wife, and it goes show how deep connectional personal relationship that Gus has with these officers.
Well, he sponsors the fun run of the DEA. So there is that element of that camaraderie with he and the police
Hmm.
and
I'm
with the
messaging Ellen.
and the DEA as well. Um, we see, of course, we see, Hank's friend Tim, who
Hmm.
works for APD, Albuquerque Police Department. They're asking him about the fingerprints that were found in Gail's apartment, Gus's fingerprints, and Gus says, I ran into Gail at my restaurant. He invited me over for dinner. I accepted,
Hmm.
and then that's essentially how how that comes about. Now, was there any significance to that wanted poster that was hanging
Yeah,
on the wall?
that was the person. That was what's his face that got killed with the box cutter. Victor.
Victor.
That
That
was
was Victor.
Victor. That was Victor.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was Victor.
Yeah.
He was a missing person. That's what they were.
Yeah, he saw the wanted poster, and that was supposed to be the guy that was seen at Gail's apartment that night.
Yes, Victor.
Hmm. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Gail, Gus explains that he knew Gail because he had a chemistry scholarship that Gus did,
Right.
and basically he, like you said, was a friend of his and went to dinner with him. Now, what was interesting was that, Gail, being the vegan that he is, Gus brought up and said that he was in his restaurant. Why would he be in the restaurant if Gail was the vegan?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, discrediting his story a little bit.
Yeah, but Tim and Gomi and Hank's boss, I can never remember the name of.
His name is George
George. Yeah.
Market.
George. Yeah, Agent Merkid.
Hmm.
Yeah, Agent Merkid. Yeah, they really don't pick up on that. I think Hank though had his suspicions, obviously.
Yeah, and then Hank, he came up with a great question. He asked if Gustavo Fring was your real name,
Mm-hmm.
because they cannot find any record of him, and that's Mike's doing right there, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because he was from Chile originally. Gus is
Yeah.
from Chile,
Hmm.
and Gus explained, well, with the fact that a certain dictator took over in Chile, the record keeping wasn't really a priority, and
Yeah.
that was so he tried to come up with that plausible explanation that because of the dictatorship takeover, the the
Hmm. The records got displaced and all that.
yeah, right, the records were misplaced. Yeah, so and Gomi and Merkhead and Tim, they seemed to buy that explanation. Because remember, after Gus left, Merkhead said his story seemed credible.
Hmm. But Hank has some doubts. You can tell that Hank was
Oh,
clearly
of
not
course, of
satisfied.
course. Yeah,
And, Hank being Hank, he's going to do what he can to put an end to this. And he does,
so
too.
yeah, so one thing we see in this episode, we see Skylar putting the money in these vacuum sealed bags and hiding it with clothes.
Yes, we do. We see that.
And
And
she
this is
tried to
the.
hang them in the closet, but they're too heavy and they weigh down the curtain, the closet rod.
Mhm.
It all collapses. So this is where they decide to use the crawl space.
Yeah. This is the episode that starts the crawl space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we was discussing that, yeah, last week. But
Yeah.
so Hank gets Walt in on the action and basically lies to him and said, "Hey, we're gonna go to a mental show."
Yeah, yeah, because we see Walt and Skylar, Walt Jr. Inviting Hank and Marie over to dinner.
Hmm. And that's the first time in a long time we see Hank and Marie at the Walt's house.
Yeah,
Skylar's house.
it is. It is the first time we see that in a while. And now they're just casually talking. Hank says he may have a lead on the case,
Hmm.
and but then he mentions the mineral show.
Yeah.
So they're going to the mineral show. They're supposedly.
They go to the alleged mental show, but they end up at Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah, and Walt was actually telling an interesting story about a mineral that he had when he was younger. He was telling Hank
Yes.
about this interesting mineral.
Yeah, he had a small mineral, unless he made that up. He could have made that up.
Pot, yeah, yeah, he could have. I mean, that's how
That's
you
how
know.
Walt is. I mean, he
Yeah,
probably could have just made that up so he can, find some common ground between him and Hank.
yeah, I think that could be possible. So they go to Los Pollos Hermanos. They're sitting in the car. Hank is saying, I need you to put this, I need you to put this under his
GPS tracker.
under his wheel well.
Hmm.
They're sitting there talking, and Walt's kind of. But then we see Mike pull up right beside them.
Now that was interesting. I don't know if Gus called up Mike.
I don't know, but we see Mike with his newspaper. He got to have his newspaper.
His newspaper and probably a pimento sandwich in the glove box.
Yeah, probably his pimento with cheese. Yeah, and he's sitting there watching, and Walt he gets out of the car. He goes over to the car, pretends like he's tying his shoe.
Hmm.
Then he goes inside. He talks to Gus. He shows Gus the device, and
Yep.
Gus says, "Do it."
Hmm.
Gus wants him to do it.
Yep.
So Walt goes back outside, does the charade with the tying the shoe again, goes back, and we see Hank in the car saying, "What the hell?" So he gets back in the car, and Walt comes up with the excuse, "I was checking to make sure it was secure."
Hmm.
So they pull away. You know, there's no need for any kind of Mike doesn't have to intervene or anything like
Confrontation. Yeah.
that. Right.
So Hank he's doing this on his own. He's basically doing something that's illegal. He's trying
Mm-hmm.
to
Although he
and
called it
Walt's
extra
involved.
legal.
And
He
Walt's
called it
involved.
yeah. Yeah, he called it extra legal. That's what Hank called
Yeah.
it. And let's see. Next, we see Walt going to see Jesse at
Hmm.
his apartment.
Yeah, but before we see that, let's go back and we see Saul basically delivering cash from Jesse to Andrea,
Yeah,
and
Brock. Yeah,
yeah,
and he's talking to Brock and everything. And
yeah, and
I'm glad you brought up about Saul, because I almost forgot about Saul going to see Andrea and Brock.
yeah, this is a quick scene right here.
Yeah. And not only do we see Saul, we see my man Hugh.
Heel,
Yeah,
heels back.
yeah, I love Hugh.
Yeah, so Saul is there. He's basically Jesse's eyes and ears. Jesse at this point cannot face Andrea because he's he's on some things right now. He's got some things going with him with Gus and Mike. So there's
He's
no
actually he actually rode over with Saul and Hugh,
yeah,
and
and you can tell Saul was concerned with
yeah,
Jesse because Jesse basically asked him is how's everything doing and how's the kid, and Saul's like, you know what, why don't you go in there and do it yourself? And Jesse is very reluctant at this point.
he is. And Jesse gets out, and Saul says, "Do you need a ride back home?" And Jesse says, "No."
Hmm. Yeah, so very, very quick scene. Saul's really concerned for Jesse at this point. He
Yeah,
sees him as a son to him, probably. I won't go as far as say son, but he sees something with Jesse.
but another thing we see in this episode is Walt going into the lab. He's talking directly to the camera. He's saying, basically
Yeah,
telling Gus, this was not my idea. Hank wanted me to do this.
yeah,
And of course, of course, Walt had to say, "Listen, this is him. I'm not part of this. He asked me to do this."
hmm exactly. And then Mike calls up Gus and basically tells him the same thing that Walt tells him. that the DEA doesn't consider him a suspect and all of that. And that puts some relief on Gus right there.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But Walt is still in the doghouse because Gus knows that Hank's onto him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's going to put a wrench into this whole system.
Yeah. So now we see Walt going to visit Jesse at his house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking him. He's still trying to get Jesse to kill Gus. This is what he wants him to do.
Yeah.
He wants him to try and kill Gus.
Mm-hmm. But Jesse doesn't want to.
Right.
Doesn't really want to at this point.
No, he doesn't. I mean,
And
he's still
go ahead.
He's still trying to. I think Jesse's trying to weasel his way out of it. He's trying to tell Walt, no, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
He still has the cigarette.
He does.
With the ricin in it, and he shows it to Walt, and then he has to go to the bathroom, and Jesse gets a call, and Walt looks at his phone,
Mm-hmm.
and the message is.
The message was from Mike. Mike is saying that about a meeting and it was canceled. And this is going to have some suspicion onto Walt about Jesse working with Gus and Mike.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because remember, Walt asked him, he said, did you only see him how many, have you seen Gus since the diner? And Jesse lied to him and said, no.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Walt was starting to realize, oh, he lied to me.
Oh, yeah, he was concerned, and he knew that he was lying, but now he's got proof that he was lying to him.
You can tell by the look on Walt's face. He's like, son of a bitch, he's lying to me.
At this point, I think if Walt really needs to kill Gus, I think he would probably kill Jesse just to kill Gus. Because he is that desperate because Hank is on to Gus.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to eliminate Gus before anything can come back on him.
Yeah. And then we see Walter leaves Jesse, but of course he knows that Jesse's been lying to him. He knows this now.
Yeah.
Because he saw the message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we get to the greatest, climax ending is the flashback.
The flashback, yes.
It's with Gus, his partner.
Max was his
name. Max. Gus and Max, his partner. And the Don.
Don Eladio. We finally see Don Eladio. Played by Stephen Bauer.
The dude from Scarface.
Yes, well, he and Mark Margolis were in Scarface.
And Hector, a very young Hector, reminds me of Mike.
He does.
I'm putting it out there. He reminds me of Mike.
Yeah. And when we see this guy pissing in the pool, we see Tio pissing in the pool.
Now, I wonder if that was him actually pissing in the pool.
I don't know, but when this is what we see. We see him pissing in the pool, and yes. they're having a business meeting. Now I only saw this in Spanish. I didn't see the subtitles.
Oh, you didn't read the subtitles?
The version I watched didn't have subtitles.
Okay, so basically, what Gus and Max did was that Gus gave the Don's henchmen, I don't know, partners, people, when they was visiting the chicken place, samples of their meth product, so that Gus and Max can have a meeting with the Don and tell him about the product. But Don wasn't too happy about that. He basically didn't want Gus and Max, and basically he insulted meth and saying that's for bikers and all that other crank and hillbillies.
Those two words. I recognize those two words.
Yeah.
And also, por favor, that's Spanish for please. I recognize that word.
But basically, Don wasn't really really pleased. He basically thanked that Gus and Max insulted them. And that's why Hector killed Max.
Mm-hmm. And then they basically, they hit Max was laying on the side of the pool. They had Gus down face to face with him.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was some interesting characterization between Gus and Max. They think that there are actually partners, gay partners. And Hector...
Giancarlo Esposito has kind of implied that.
And well, it was implied by Hector too, because basically he made fun of that. Because if you remember, if you saw Hector give him the kissy face and all that, that's what he was implying in Spanish.
Yeah.
So it'll be. Go ahead, Henry.
Like Giancarlo Esposito has also said that it's been implied that yes, they were lovers, they were gay lovers.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, just how they persuaded and how Gus was really, upset about it.
Yeah.
But
so after that, we switched back to present day, and Gus is still visiting with Tio.
Yeah. And he's like, "Look at me, Hector," and he refused.
Yep. He says, "Perhaps next time." And we see Tio drooling, and that's the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this whole episode is laying the groundwork between the war of between Gus and the cartel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I hope they use some of this in Better Call Saul, because this is really going to escalate the story with Mike and Gus and the cartel. Because since let's go ahead and talk Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and since this is a great Better Call Saul episode.
I called that one 75% Mike, 25% Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a shit ton of Breaking Bad callbacks in this episode.
Yeah. Oh my God, this one was great.
Yeah, so this episode was called Gloves Off, and the teaser was amazing. You see Mike in his house going for a bag of peas, and you see that he's been punched in the face. And I mean,
his face was fucked up.
It was fucked up, messed up as well. But I was listening to the Insider podcast, and they was talking about that, and that wasn't makeup. That was CG.
Oh, really?
It was CG. They said that the makeup was too much on Jonathan Banks, so they had to do some makeup and then CG the rest of it in.
Well, that's what they did with Aaron Eckhart when he played Two-Face in The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
They use little they put these little tracker things on the left side of his face.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what they did with Mike.
But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing teaser. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
To see Mike, I mean, for somebody to fuck Mike up, that's huge. That's big.
Yeah, and then you see the chain that Mike had in his hand, which was boxing gloves. And I'm like, okay, please, for the love of God, tell me Tuco is in this episode. Because this is the only way that Mike can get fucked up is by Tuco. And we see Tuco in this episode.
Yes, we do. But before we get to that,
Jimmy, well, we got to discuss the whole meeting with the commercial that really pissed off Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah, Cliff and all the other partners at Davis and Maine, they weren't too happy with it.
Yeah, but luckily, Cliff, Ed Begley Jr., was giving Jimmy a second chance, but he was on watch with this second chance.
Yeah, I remember I PM'd you. I said Jimmy's on probation
Yeah, he's definitely on probation.
with the firm.
And I'm like, how is Jimmy going to mess this up now? And apparently he might mess it up in the next episode, from what I can tell.
And then we see Kim has been downgraded
To the cornfield.
to the cornfield. Yeah.
Yes, because there was a meeting between Howard, Chuck, and Kim. And Chuck had a whole bunch of input on that. I mean, it's solely Chuck's fault that Kim is in this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
we see Jimmy going to see her. Remember, you mentioned the movie Network. You said that reminded you of the movie Network.
The whole set reminded me of Network. I mean, with the lights strategically placed in the dark room, everything reminded me of Network.
And I pointed out to you, remember in the first season, Jimmy used a line from Network when he told somebody, "You will atone."
Yeah, he did.
Which was said by Ned Beatty in the movie Network.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very, very network-esque.
Is Ned Beatty still alive?
Yes.
Oh, he would be good in Better Call Saul.
Oh my God, yes, he would. Hey, they got Ed Beatty. Why not have Ned Beatty?
Ned Beatty is alive. He would be terrific in Better Call Saul.
He would. He would.
I can see him as like a lawyer or something.
So let's see. Basically, we see Mike refusing to do. Oh no, we see Mike going to see the weapons dealer, the same one that Walt went
to. Larson.
Yeah, Larson.
Yes, so another great Breaking Bad callback is Larson, the weapons dealer, and Mike and Larson is basically two peas in the same pod. They are terrifically almost alike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he goes to extreme measures so that you won't be able to get these serial numbers off of these weapons. But Mike was really reluctant on killing Tuco, which was Nacho's problem. Nacho's problem was Tuco.
Yeah, you could have called Tuco the problem dog.
Yes, exactly.
Remember that was the episode we looked at last week of Breaking Bad was Problem Dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tuco was Nacho's problem dog. He wanted Mike to solve his problem.
Yeah. But Mike, being the level-headed guy he is, told Nacho that, hey, this is not going to work. If I kill Tuco, his family's going to come after you.
Yeah.
And I hope to God we see the cousins again. Because this is going to be...
But before we get to the stuff with Tuco, we have to talk about Jimmy and Chuck's confrontation.
Oh, the best.
Chuck's house. Chuck is asleep on the couch because he's exhausted. He's worn out from having to be out in public.
Not exhausted. He's basically, with that electromagnetic disorder that he's got.
Yeah, I think, and we've talked about this before. I think that's psychosomatic. I think it's in his.
Yeah, because he was sleeping on a space blanket, and he just looked terrible. I think Jimmy is the one that's doing this to him. Because when he had the commercial with the billboard, Chuck got sick. When he did commercial with Davis and Maine, Chuck is getting sick. And I noticed this on Chuck that he had that watch around his band on his wrist. Was that a battery operated or non-battery powered?
Well, aren't most watches usually? Maybe it was solar powered. I don't know. Do they have solar powered watches?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure. And did they? Well, did they have solar powered watches in 2002? 2002. That's what I'm wondering about because the only way that you can power a watch is with a battery.
Mm-hmm. There is solar watches. Let's see if there's one in 2002.
I mean, yeah. How long have solar watches been around?
Mm-hmm. It looks like a solar watch has been around in 2002. Do we know
if the watch worked or not? Maybe it was like an heirloom, like a family heirloom or something like that Chuck just decided to wear.
True. I mean, he could have just taken the battery out.
Yeah, it had no batteries in it. It was just a family heirloom.
Mm-hmm.
Or something he could have inherited from his father or grandfather or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking because, we know how Chuck feels about electronics and battery powered stuff and all that. I mean, that's why people have to. That's why people have to, ditch their cell phones, their watches, and all that when they're
Mm-hmm.
around him.
Yeah. And I like the consistency of this. He's still wearing that space blanket sports jacket.
Yeah, he is. He is. So now, but see, Jimmy went over to confront him, but then what happened was Jimmy realized that his brother was not doing very well, so he was taking care of him.
Yeah. And it goes to show that Jimmy still feels some love with Chuck. Even
He
though he
does.
tries to screw him every which way, he still likes him.
Yeah, I mean they're brothers. I mean that Jimmy still feels, hey, listen, we're brothers. We may not always get along, but I'm going to take care of my brother.
Yeah. But after he takes care of him, that's when the confrontation begins. He
Yeah,
realized that Chuck was up to Kim going back into the cornfield. He realized that.
but Chuck tried to deny it. Chuck tried to deny that he had anything to do with that.
Yeah. But that's when Jimmy was like, hey, you know what? Kim had nothing to do with this. She thought that I already had the permission from Ed Begley Jr., Cliff, and all that. And you can tell that Chuck was a little concerned at this point because of what he did.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, like I say, Chuck tried to deny it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, Jimmy knows his brother. He knows his brother has something to do with that. He's like, don't give me that shit, Chuck.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And so basically, Jimmy was like, hey, you know what? Reinstate Kim, and I will quit the law.
Yes,
And
he kind
Chuck
of.
was not having none of that. Chuck was stood his ground and was not having none of that.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting ultimatum on Jimmy's part to kind of say, hey, listen, if you reinstate Kim to her former position,
Hmm.
I'll quit forever.
Yeah.
I will not even go near a courtroom.
Yeah. And Chuck stood his ground, and which surprised me because does he want Jimmy to be a good lawyer at this point, or does he not want to get down and dirty like Jimmy said?
Yeah, I remember Jimmy said, come on, Chuck, roll in the dirt with me. Yeah.
And he also and Jimmy brought up the whole chimp with a machine gun too, which
Yes,
is
he
great
did.
because they brought that up and the
It
very
was a
last.
great callback to last
Yeah,
season, the first season.
yeah.
It was consistency. That's one of the greatest things about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. They have this consistency, and they bring back stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and they know that if they don't have that consistency, the fans is going to call them out on it.
I know, and I mean, it was great. It was great.
Hmm.
So after the confrontation, we've seen Mike talk to Nacho, say he's not going to kill Tuco.
Hmm.
But see, Mike had something else planned. He had another plan,
Yeah.
and
So
you could
basically,
tell.
and that plan was
Brilliant plan,
a
absolutely
great
brilliant.
plan. So basically, Mike called the cops and said, "Hey, there's a fight going on," and he was all innocent, and he had this different tone about him, which is great. And
Yeah,
then,
Mike was acting like Joe Every Guy. He was just acting like a average Joe. You
yeah,
know.
then we get to see this whole confrontation go down. But before we see that, we see another familiar character, Crazy Eight, sitting
Yes.
down with Tuco and Nacho, doing
Yeah.
business with them, and the Tampico furniture that he was working at with his dad's that Walt was telling about, and the bassinet that he got from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this
So
was
we
loaded with Breaking Bad callbacks.
so we see these other two callbacks to Breaking Bad. I was like, and remember how excited we were? You and I were PMing back and forth on Facebook. Tuco,
So we had Tuco, we had Crazy
Larson.
Eight, Larson, the Tampico furniture, That was loaded with Breaking Bad callbacks.
Oh, it was. Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mike goes in there. He's ostensibly to order something, and he says "polios." Now, of course, we've heard that word before.
yeah,
That's Spanish for chicken.
chicken. I got a feeling that's a that's a you know a prediction, not a prediction. A damn it, what do you call it? I'm losing my mind tonight.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing to Gus. That's got to be a
Yes.
foreshadowing to Gus.
Yeah, foreshadowing to Gus. Right. Yeah. I think
That's got
it
to be
is.
foreshadowing to Gus because we see in a teaser, when we're talking about the teaser, we see a guy that looks a lot like Gus and sitting down with Mike. But going back to that, Mike rolls up. He hits. Oh, you don't do this. You don't hit Tuco's car.
No.
He hits Tuco's car. He did it on purpose so that he can get in a fight with him.
Yeah, I know. Like I say that. I mean, you look at Mike. You can see the wheels spinning behind his eyes. You can see the wheels spinning.
Yeah,
The guy, Mike's not. Mike is. He's such a savvy guy.
yeah. Mike knows what's coming to him, and that's the price to pay because he doesn't really. At this point, Mike doesn't want to kill anybody.
Right.
Mike does not want to kill anybody. He does not want to break any legs. He wants to, stay away from that. And we we haven't seen Mike kill anybody except for those two officers, and that's it. Those
Well,
are the only
yeah.
two kills that Mike has done in this whole series of Better Call Saul. And I got a feeling Mike is going to have to break some legs sooner or later at this point.
So yeah, we see him. He hits the car. Tuco's like, "Hey, you hit my car, man."
And Tuco, my God, Tuco.
And Mike, hey, listen, I'm sorry. Mike was still trying to act like Joe Citizen. Joe. He was trying to act like the average Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we see Mike pulling his wallet out. I mean, my gosh, he's got a lot of money in it.
Yeah, and he tries to play it off and say, "Oh, I don't have that much," and Tuco was like, "I saw
Social
that.
Security.
I saw that."
He
He-
said he cashed a Social Security check. So
yeah.
they go outside. So they're outside. Tuco and Nacho are confronting Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls something out. They think he's going to pull out a gun.
Yeah, but he pulls out his wallet.
Pulls out his wallet. They say, "Give me your wallet." Tuco says, "Give me your wallet." And Mike's like, "No, I don't think so."
And Mike is really good at playing the innocent old man in this.
I know. He is just. I
He's
mean, this is just the mark of a great actor. Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks. Oh my God.
Oh man. I mean, we have so much affection for Mike. We just love Mike here.
Yeah, and it's sad that we know how he's going to end up.
I know. I know. So what happens is Tuco pulls out his pistol. Mike grabs the pistol.
And knocks
He's
it
got
away.
the ball. Tuco is wailing on his face. He's like, "Let go, let go," and Mike won't let go.
No. And
And
so
then the cops pull up.
Tuco keeps punching him, punching him, and punching him. And he's hitting at him like 50, 60 times, or how many times he's hitting him. And then
It was like a piston, just boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
yeah, and as soon as the cops came up, and Mike was like, drop this whole innocent persona and says, "That all you got?" And Tuco just kept punching him, punching him, punching him. And so we found out how Tuco went to prison. This is the story of how Tuco went to prison and Meet Skinny Pete.
yeah. Now see, that would have been 2002. He would have been in for like 6 years because
Yeah.
when Breaking Bad started, it was 2008.
Yeah, and Mike even said that he's going to be out of commission for 5 to 10 years. So, this is how Tuco got into prison.
Yes, this
So
is we found out how this happened.
this is rolling the ball of how Breaking Bad comes to be, of how
Yeah,
Tuco came to prison. And another great callback was when Nacho was telling the story of back in '98 and how he got shot by Tuco. Well, Hank also related that story when he was talking about Crazy Eight, if you
Yeah.
remember.
So yeah, sweet. Yeah. I mean, the callbacks on this episode, yeah. Oh, it was
Mhm.
great. The
Yeah,
callbacks to
great.
Breaking Bad, and then
And
that's when we see Mike in his apartment drinking a bad beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon. He's got the peas or the carrots on his eye.
yeah,
You know, I mean, it was just that was just a genius plan by Mike. Absolutely genius.
yeah, definitely. Uh, a fun fact: we almost did not see Mike at all in Breaking Bad. When the cleanup guy for Jane's overdose, was originally supposed to be Saul Goodman, but Bob Odenkirk wasn't available that day to film that. So that's when they introduced Mike, the cleanup guy, in that episode. So if it wasn't for Bob Odenkirk not being able to commit to that, you know, being the cleanup guy for Jane's overdose, we would never see Mike.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a fortuitous bit of casting to have for Vince
Yeah.
Gilligan to have Jonathan Banks on the show. I mean, because he has been nothing. Mike, of course, is nothing short of brilliant. Such a great character.
hmm
And the way they write him is just yes. I mean, I love the way they write Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he brings the Walter White to this show. Even though he's nowhere near as dark as Walter at this point, he brings this whole darkness of the show. The whole show tone changes between Jimmy and Mike. Jimmy, it's more lighthearted and everything. Mike, it's 100% drama, dead serious.
Yeah, I mean, now something happened at the end of this episode where we saw Mike get back at the toll booth. I think it was it Jimmy that pulled up and said, "What happened to you?"
Oh, that was the teaser for next week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy pulls up and said, "What the hell happened to you?"
Uh-huh. Oh man.
And so next week,
Next week,
Mike's eye is still bruised.
this upcoming Monday is going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, so this episode is going to be for Monday is going to be called Rebecca. And if you remember, I told you that Vince Gilligan said that woman that was written on the sheet of music paper is called Rebecca Bliss. He said,
Mhm.
keep that name in mind, and next week's episode is Rebecca.
Oh yes. Oh, I mean the sheet music that the piece that Chuck
Yeah,
was
yeah,
playing.
yeah. So next week's going to be.
Yeah. Oh,
If
we're
there's
almost at the, and we're almost at the halfway point of this season too.
Yes, we are, and there's going to be a lot happening this season.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot happening.
This has been a really good season so far.
It has. I think this season has been really stronger than last season.
I agree. I agree. I mean, yeah,
With
last season was kind of an introductory type
Yeah,
thing.
it was more of a slow pace. But I hope to God we get a solo Mike episode this season like we did last.
Oh
We
my
need one.
God, yes. I mean, this show is just it just gets better and better. You know,
Yeah,
and even though he didn't win the Emmy, I mean, he was nominated. Jonathan Banks was nominated. So,
yeah, he was nominated. Hopefully he'll get one this go around.
oh yeah,
But
yeah. This episode, if Cobbler got a 10, this one gets a freaking 11.
yeah, this one, this one, like you said, this is more of a Mike episode, and Jimmy was the background in this one.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, 75% Mike and 25% Jimmy.
Also, when Jimmy, I forgot to mention this. Forgot to mention this. When Jimmy visits Kim in the cornfield, Kim was like, "You know what? Do not go to Hamlin. Do not say anything about this. Leave this alone. I need this job." Well, he basically bent the rule. She said, "Don't go to Hamlin." He went straightly to Chuck. He bent the rules, so it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to pan out.
Yeah, he did go to Chuck. He didn't go to Hamlin, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So
Kim told him not to go to Hamlin, so he didn't. But she didn't say he couldn't go to Chuck.
Exactly. And Jimmy's been bending the rules a lot this season. He bent the rule with the commercial, got in trouble for that. He bent the rule with the whole squat cobbler story.
Oh, that episode was just great.
I mean, and then he didn't technically get in trouble for that, but he got in trouble. He got a mouthful with Kim. So that might come back and bite him on the ass, the squat cobbler.
Oh yeah, but yeah, this episode was damn near perfect. I mean, this was tremendous. This was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
This was my favorite one of this season.
That's your phone.
Yeah, and I had to recharge. I'm trying to charge. Oh, it is charged. I was charging my phone.
Okay. Well, all right. Now let's get into Walking Dead.
Oh,
And
this one was great. I mean, this
had
was
a lot of death in this. Whole bunch of deaths. So Rick and the gang goes out and kills every single one of Negan's crew.
Yep. And you know, the one scene where we see Glenn going into the headquarters or one of the sleeping quarters, he sees those pictures of somebody with their head bashed in. I thought, could that be foreshadowing for Glenn?
Yeah, we saw that. I saw that too. I'm like, is that foreshadowing? It's got to be foreshadowing to something because that was a damn bat bashed into the head.
That was Lucille. That was freaking Lucille.
Exactly. And those photos are graphic. And if there's anything that's going to be graphic, then is Lucille getting bashed into somebody's head.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see that with somebody.
A barbed wire wrapped baseball bat.
And it's not Mick Foley either.
No. This, I mean, it's going to be violent. I mean, but this episode was pretty violent.
Yeah, this episode was pretty violent. Yeah.
One thing they were trying to do was to get close to the headquarters. They had to have a head. They had to ostensibly they were supposed to have killed Gregory,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 3 heads from corpses, and they had to punch one of them to make it look like he got punched in the face to where it would be accepted by Negan's men that, oh yeah, this is Gregory's head.
Yeah. And there was a lot of tension during that because I was seriously thought they was not going to, take the bait. But they took the bait. Negan's crew took the bait. And that's when all hell broke loose.
Mm-hmm.
And Glenn did his first kill in this one. His first live kill.
First kill of a human.
Exactly, his first human kill. And if they go by the comic books, could this be one of the reasons why Glenn gets bashed in? Because the person that he killed, could that be one of Negan's special guys or something? And
maybe
that could be the reason why he's going to get knocked out with the bat.
Yeah, and we also see Gabriel for the first time, actually. But he's quoting scripture, and then he shoots the guy and says,
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, Gabriel is becoming a badass priest.
Speaking of which, I saw that actor on an episode of Law and Order Criminal Intent a few days ago.
Yeah, he was in a lot of things. I'm sure he was.
The actor that plays Gabriel, yeah, on Walking Dead. I was like, yes, Gabriel.
Everybody, like Ellen said, everybody was in Law and Order.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they were. And then last night, I watched Law and Order, and Deanna was on there. She'd been on there as a defense attorney. The actress who played Deanna, Tova Felcha, is her real name.
Mm-hmm.
And but that episode of Walking Dead. I mean, we see Rick and his group systematically taking out these members of Negan's gang.
Mm-hmm.
There was after all of it's been taken, after all of them have been killed off except for one, and that one comes out on Daryl's motorcycle.
On Daryl's motorcycle, and then
He said,
Maggie.
He shot the guy.
Yeah, and then Maggie and Carol gets kidnapped by these freaking people. We don't know who they are, who they're working for.
Mm-hmm. They probably work for Negan.
I don't know. I don't think Negan would have any women on his crew.
He might.
He might. But,
because originally during the episode, Maggie was going to go try and help, and Carol said, "No, you need to stay here."
Yeah, and Maggie at this point we know is pregnant, and there's a lot of concern that she might have a miscarriage or something happen to this baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Carol was the focal point in this episode. She has a death diary of the people she has killed.
Yes, she does. She's keeping a tally on all the people she's killed.
She has. And the teaser was focused on Carol too. She was baking those cookies and giving them out.
Yeah, cookies made out of beets and all kinds of vegetables,
nuts and stuff.
Acorns. It was acorns.
And we see Carol leave one on Sam's grave.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting thing that we saw where she did that.
Mm-hmm. And Abraham and Rosita is having some trouble. Abraham just broke up with her. And Rosita's taking it pretty hard.
Yeah, she is. Abraham said he was leaving, remember?
Yeah, he was leaving, but he's still on the team as of right now. But
yeah,
maybe...
but I think he wants to leave after they get this taken care of. He wants to at least stick around with them that long.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope he won't leave because I love Abraham. He's just such
he's a pretty badass. But
he
this whole leaving Rosita, this is opening up for Eugene to come in and make the move on Rosita.
Yeah, get it.
I would. If I was Eugene, I'd try to make the move on Rosita. She's pretty hot.
Women can't resist a mullet.
Exactly. And they can't resist hunky dory either.
Hunky donkey.
Hunky donkey, they can't resist that.
I love when he said that. That was so damn funny.
Yeah, it was. But fun fact about Rosita, she was in this kids show called Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Look it up. She played this character called Susie Crabgrass. I didn't know that was her until I looked it up. I was like, oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically what happened on this episode was, there was a lot of deaths and maybe some foreshadowing with Glenn.
Yeah, foreshadowing with Glenn. Again, Daryl is making a huge statement in the show too. So could this be Daryl's last go down?
Who knows?
So Walking Dead is just like Breaking Bad. They love to tease us and throw curveballs at us.
Now, in the preview for tomorrow night, the woman that called them on the walkie-talkie,
mm-hmm.
The actress's name is Alicia Witt, and she was on the show Sybil as her daughter, and she was on Law and Order: Criminal Intent during, I think it was the 2007-2008 season. So she's been on Criminal Intent also.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot to mention the musical choice that they use for the montage of Carol making the cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see a musical like the montage like that, I can't help but think Breaking Bad.
Exactly. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
they are famous for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they may have gotten the idea from Breaking Bad to do that.
Yeah, they probably did. Greg Nicotero was the director of this episode. He does some pretty good stuff.
He's going to be directing the season finale also
Ooh,
with
that,
Negan. We
that's gonna
finally
be
see
good. You know,
Negan.
I told you this. I said, I think Tuco, Raymond Cruz, would be a great Negan.
He would. I think he would. But they've already chosen Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the comedian from Watchmen, from the movie Watchmen.
I haven't seen The Watchmen. I have not. Is it pretty good or?
It's not a typical superhero movie. I'll just say that right up front.
All right. And another guy, Ron Perlman. You remember him?
Yes, from Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy and Hellraiser. He would be a great Negan too.
He would.
But I can't wait to see.
If they had chosen to go that route, if they'd chosen to have Ron Perlman, he would have been. Yeah, he would have been a great Negan.
But I can't wait to see what that other dude's going to bring to the role.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't regret it. But
Yeah, one thing they've been talking about. They've been talking about Negan's dropping of
cussing,
400 words. Yeah.
the F-bomb and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that they actually shot those scenes a couple of ways. They shot one which was a little bit cleaner.
Oh, the clean version for the AMC airing, and then the non-clean for the DVD.
And Blu-ray, yes, right, yeah. They shot it two ways, so.
I'm glad they went that route. I mean, from what I understand, that Negan is like a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
Like a sailor.
Swears like a sailor, yeah.
Exactly. But fun fact, they said that one of the zombie heads that was used in the episode was based on Johnny Depp.
Yeah, they use it. Yeah, Johnny Depp. I saw that. I was going to say, now one thing they could do if they do have him cussing, they could have the audio drop out. They've done it on Better Call Saul also, and
Yeah,
on Breaking.
They have.
Audio drop out before they say a really bad word. Because remember that episode of Better Call Saul last season where Saul called Hamlin a pig fucker?
Mm-hmm.
But see, they dropped the audio out before he said fucker.
Yeah.
So they could possibly go that route with Negan.
Mm.
Matter of fact, it was the video that I saw on YouTube. It was a guy reading an article from Entertainment Weekly where they talked about shooting the scene a couple of ways, different ways. The scenes with Negan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
you know what? They are building this up in a huge way that Negan's going to come in, and what the hell is going to go on? Who's going to die between now and then, and who is going to be the character that Negan kills off? Oh, you still there?
what were you saying? Sorry about that. Got dropped out.
Oh, I said that they're building this up in a huge way. Who's going to get killed off between now and when Negan shows up, and who is Negan going to kill? Those are some of the questions that's going to be answered.
Yeah, because they're waiting to the season finale to debut Negan.
Oh man, I can't wait until then.
We got 4 more weeks to go.
4 weeks until Negan's arrival.
Yeah, we got to wait 4 more weeks for Negan.
Well, hopefully within those 4 weeks, something major is going to happen.
Yeah, of course, tomorrow night we're going to see how they resolve the situation with Carol and Maggie.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to the preview, they're going to try and kind of make a trade. They were going to trade the guy that Daryl shot off his motorcycle
Now,
for
if
Carol and
then that they might be with Negan then. They might be with Negan. If they want that trade.
Negan's show up to the season finale.
No, I'm talking about the women. They might be with Negan if they want that trade.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But
we'll find out more tomorrow.
Any predictions for tomorrow night?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, who's going to get killed off? I don't know.
Yeah.
Will anybody get killed off tomorrow night?
And nobody's got killed off yet, except for Sam and Jessica, which is, they definitely need to kill that
Jesse
kid
and
off.
yeah, about Ron.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ron, too.
Oh yeah, and Jesus is starting to prove to be more trustworthy. He's actually helping Rick and them.
Well, there's always the backstab.
Well, true, but I'm starting to doubt that he's part of Negan's group now. I'm starting to doubt that he has anything to do with Negan.
It's gonna have to take me a while because I don't still trust him yet. I think there's something there with Jesus. Something's gonna go on. I mean, there's a reason why he's there.
Well, and look, he may have just been with the Hilltop group. You never know. He may have been with the Hilltop.
Something's there. Something's there with Jesus.
I mean, whatever you think of the Hilltop group and Gregory, they have no love for Negan.
Mm-hmm.
They have no love for Negan or the Saviors. None at all. Whatever you think of Gregory, but I think it's in the comics that Maggie takes over the Hilltop group. Or is it Carol? Is it either Carol or Maggie that takes over the Hilltop group in the comic book?
It's probably gonna be Maggie since she's talking with the governor now. Gregory.
You mean Gregory?
Yeah. He's basically a freaking governor. He's the leader of it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think going forward, I think Maggie is going to lose the baby. And as bad as I hate to, I think Maggie's going to lose that baby because that baby, that's going to be a main thing. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to say Negan is going to take the bat and swing it into Maggie's stomach, causing her to lose the baby.
That could happen. That could very well happen. Now, my brother-in-law shared a link where there was someone theorized that maybe Negan's going to kill Michonne on the season finale.
Well, her and Rick is an item now, so Rick and his girls doesn't last that long.
I mean, it's an interesting theory. I mean, it would be a giant swerve. People think that people are saying that there's foreshadowing for Daryl to be killed. There's foreshadowing for Glenn to be killed. I mean, they could throw us a complete curveball.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably going to be the least person you've expected.
Mm-hmm.
It might be Eugene. Ooh.
No, I hope not. But it would. No, the thing is, well, I mean, Eugene's a cool character, but he's not really as well known or beloved as, let's say, a Daryl or a Glenn or Michonne.
True, and plus, he's not really that important.
Right.
Since
it would have to be somebody it would have to be somebody the fans really like.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not going to kill Rick off. I don't think. No, Rick will die on the last episode.
They cannot kill Rick.
No,
they cannot kill because Rick is the damn main character in the comics, and he has to be the main character in the show.
They're not going to kill Rick off yet.
They cannot kill Rick off yet. Not until the series finale. Even if they kill him off at all.
Yeah, right. That's true. So it won't be Rick that gets killed off. Like I say, it would have to be a character who's really popular, or that the fans really like.
And that's going to be Michonne, Daryl, Glenn, Maggie.
Possibly Maggie. Yeah, I just thought about it.
I don't know.
Carol might be. Yeah, Carol's pretty popular too.
Yeah, Carol. So it's going to be one of the popular. It's going to be one of the main 4 people that's there.
But your theory about Negan swinging the bat into Maggie's stomach,
yeah,
that could have some merit to it.
Yeah, I mean they're really focusing on the baby this season because they showed the sonogram, ultrasound.
The sonogram. Yeah.
They showed that, and they was talking about the baby, and Carol's saying that she's worried about the baby. The baby might get it. as dark as it may sound. And like we brought up so many times that it said that it made Andrew Lincoln Rick sick, like when he read that script.
Mm-hmm.
So
He couldn't sleep that night after they shot that. Couldn't
yeah.
sleep that night.
So
I tell you what, that I hate to say it, but that more than anything, even more than killing a popular character,
mhm,
something like that would make Negan the biggest asshole on the show.
it would. It would.
I
I
mean,
wish. Can't wait for Ellen to come back on and
people would hate if you think people would hate Negan for killing off Daryl or Glenn or something like that.
mhm,
For him to put a bat into a pregnant woman's stomach, that'd be even worse.
yeah. I mean, that would be, and it go and like I brought up. I hate to be repetitive, but it made Andrew Lincoln sick. How sick and twisted that is if you take a bat to a pregnant woman with barbed wire on it and hit her in the stomach and make her cause a miscarriage,
Yeah,
killing the
it's
baby.
like it wouldn't kill her, but it would cause a miscarriage.
Yeah, it'll kill the baby on the impact, but it won't hurt Maggie. That,
Yeah, that would be that would certainly. I mean, we're wrestling fans. We talk about heels doing bad things.
yeah.
It would be the most hated heel, in the whole wrestling universe. If it.
Hmm. And if that does happen, I'm just worried about the actor that plays Negan safety because these hardcore Walking Dead fans, they are probably going to say death to him, death to him. He'll receive death threats and everything if that happens.
Yeah, yeah, they would. So I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan needs to be careful.
Yeah, that is if it happens. But if Negan's going to kill somebody.
Good theory about him taking the bat to Maggie's stomach. That's a really good theory.
I just thought of it. But
It would make sense. It would
yeah,
make sense.
I mean, you are trying to build this guy up to be the bad son of a bitch he is, and what
Hmm.
bad way than to have Maggie have a miscarriage with the baby and him swinging the bat at it?
Because I mean, hey, we know on Walking Dead, there's no happy endings.
Yeah, and with Breaking Bad, they said that everybody was on the chopping block, including Holly. The same thing goes with The Walking Dead. Everybody's on a chopping block.
Hmm.
Even if it's a small fetus inside of Maggie, that's on the chopping block. But I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to my theory, and I'm gonna post that theory on Facebook and see what kind of backlash I receive.
Oh,
So that's going to do it for Breaking BadCast. We will meet next week with episode 9, and that is Bug. And then we're going to talk Better Call Saul and Walking Dead next week, and hopefully Ellen will return.
yeah.
Yeah. So good night, everybody.